Morning Tony, good morning everybody. Michelle Khan, Co-Festival Director for the Auckland Wooden Boat Festival, along with Tony Stevenson here, who is the other Co-Festival Director. We also happen to be husband and wife, and we work together, and we do lots of different projects together. And this is one of the ones that we feel very lucky to do. So in 2024, i.e. last year, Tātaki Auckland supported us in doing the Auckland Wooden Boat Festival for the first time. How many people were there last year? Great, yeah, a few of you, fantastic. So we were over in Jellicoe Harbour, Fine Art Event Centre, we were doing seminars here, and so we would look at doing that every second year. And then in between, we thought we can't wait for 2 years, we actually need to do something this year as well. So we've called this the Auckland Wooden Boat Festival Talks and Tours Edition. So thank you for coming today. So I just want to thank sponsors, of course. We can't do any of this without them. So I mentioned Tātaki Auckland Unlimited, the New Zealand Maritime Museum. They are a fantastic partner for us, and we really enjoy working with the staff and the team here. There's also Perpetual Guardians, so Andrew Barnes and Charlotte Lockhart. They support a lot of different classic boat things, and we're very grateful that they support the Auckland Wooden Boat Festival. Also Tangaroa Trust, of which Tony happens to be the chair of. And Network Visuals, so those are the organisations that actually make this happen. We've got a group of enthusiastic classic boat people as well. They're as our consultation group, and so it's just fantastic. This is an idea that had been like 15 years in the making, and it's great that we're up to year 2. So, just mentioned, so next year we will be looking at going back to Jellicoe Harbour and Jellicoe Wharf and the viaduct. We still just have to get council processes across the line. Who realised it was an election this year? I didn't until just recently. But hopefully they love us enough that they will support us again. I'm just going to invite Stan and Sonia here, and we're going to sing a waka just to open, and then I'll introduce Stan, our first speaker. Oh, do you want to come here? Come here, because I need the words. Sorry. Right. Okay. Thank you. I've always wanted to do that. Now, for our first speaker, Stan Conrad, who's going to talk to us about Aotearoa waka hourua history. Stan has achievements as one of New Zealand's leaders in modern Māori ocean voyaging and navigation. He's dedicated to the perpetuation of both ancestral and contemporary skills, as well as knowledge of Pacific voyaging and navigating waka hourua. Please join me in welcoming Master Navigator Stan Conrad.
Kia ora everyone, ngā mihi ati ki a tātou katoa, ka tāmai tēnei rā, tinua, tāhua, what an awesome day. Sorry about the singing this morning, yeah, bit blimmin', few butterflies in there and stuff, but got through it okay. Yeah, give me the rest of the day and I'll be yodeling away most probably. Yeah, good to be here and good to be in this wonderful place here at the Maritime Museum. A bit of history about this place. First time I ever came here, we sailed our waka hourua here at Aotearoa way back in 1993. I remember a guy by name, his name is Patrick, I think. He was here to welcome us, and the place was at the time just getting through that phase of becoming a museum, but that was our first connection to this place, the Maritime Museum, and they were good times, they were great times, and it was great that we came here and brought our canoe here and got involved, and then over the years, now look what's here now, and it's great that the opportunity now today to come and have a kōrero. Yeah, my name is Stan Conrad. It's not a Māori name. I actually was named after one of our Seventh-day Adventists. First time the Seventh-day Adventist religion ended up in a little place called Te Kawa up the north. And the minister there, his name was Stanley Claus. No relation to Santa Claus, just your name. Interesting enough, my mum was pregnant with me, my auntie, and one of my sisters. They all had boys. They all had boys anyway. We all got named Stanley, and we were only 2 weeks apart from each other. There's a Stanley Murray, a Stanley Hetarake, and I ended up being Stanley Conrad. So, but then my brother, who's passed away sadly before, he was named Stanley Sedman. So, pretty much, yeah, the name Stanley Sedman Conrad or Stanley Murray. Yeah, it's quite a thing, but everyone asks me what my Māori name is. I just said it's Stanley. You can call me Stan, you can call me Stan the man, or whatever, doesn't really matter. So I hail from the very far north, Ngāti Kuri, Te Aupōuri, Te Raroa, Ngāi Takato, Ngāti Kau, my tribe. My tupuna wakas are Māori and Ngātoki Matawhaurua and Tinana. But I grew pretty much up north. Spent a lot of my growing up at north, in the far north. Hail from a family of 15, the youngest of 15. So that gives you an idea. There was big gardens and no TVs back in those days. So yeah, big families. Enjoyed my growing up there. And then as I grew older, I'm actually a qualified commercial fisherman by trade. I wanted to go to the Navy, but my dad didn't like me going to the Navy, so he sent me off to a fishing school down in Nelson, and I ended up becoming a fisherman and running a fishing business up home. But the ocean was my life. My ancestors, especially on my European side ancestors, my dad's side, my great-great-grandfather was a German captain. And then on my mum's side, which was the Scottish side, is a Scottish guy by the name of John Borrowdale, and my grandfather, yeah. So they're all boat builders and also was ocean or sailing or captains. Joseph William Conrad was a captain of one of the vessels that came here. So, yeah, the Māori side, well, that whakapapa's back to the arrival of our ancestral wakas. So anyway, that's a little bit about me. So, starting off, this painting, you sort of know the painting itself, who painted it. When I grew up, this painting, first time I saw it, and I was at a school and looked at this painting, and then at the time, I had no idea about who we were, where we came from, and how we got here, all those things, especially about our ancestors. And so I was looked at this painting, and a story was told about this, and I was going, oh yeah. So in my mind, back then young, this is how I saw it. This is how I grew up looking at this painting. And as time went by, I got involved with voyaging, with waka, back in 1974 when my dad and a group of kaumātua decided to relaunch the ancestral canoe called Ngātoki Matawhaurua back in 1974. I was only 11 years old. Anyway, I got involved. I ended up going, and I spent pretty much all my time learning about wakataua, learning about waka, and got to learn more, and growing up around the kaumātua and the kuia, listening to these stories about our ancestors. And now as time goes by, you start thinking a lot of things. And then 1985, I was selected as a crew member to be part of a voyaging crew to sail a canoe that came from Hawaii, called Hokulea. And I got on that voyage. I did that voyage in 85 to Waitangi, and during that voyage, started adding things up, and I started thinking a lot and realizing, about our ancestors and stuff. But in my mind, I kept thinking about this painting, and I started questioning it, and I got on this journey of wanting to know a bit more and wanting to learn a lot more. And of course, it became my passion. It became what I wanted to do. No job, nothing. I just decided, this is me all the way. 10 years, 11 years, I just buried myself in voyaging and spending time in Hawaii or sailing on this canoe and learning. And then over time realized, wow, how the painting I grew up looking at, this image I looked at, surely wasn't the one I actually, wanted, that I found out, So in the end, it just started this amazing journey and this amazing voyage that I decided to get myself involved, and then just traveled and just started doing this sort of stuff of voyaging on the ocean wakas. So this painting has always been in my mind all the time. So I'm basing my kōrero around one of our ancient navigators. Our navigators came here, Kupe. Some say he's a myth, some say he's real and he's a legend. But to me he is, because the stories connect that back to Kupe and his arrival here in Aotearoa, and because of his wahine that named the island, Aotearoa. So this is the journey I sort of looked at, because that's quickly from this painting to this tupuna ancestor of ours, of Kupe, and learning more about his journeys. And of course, the tupuna waka nā toki matawhaurua came here as matawhaurua with Kupe the navigator, the captain, went back, got rehulled and got named Ngā Toki Matawhaurua, and then his nephew brought it back over here, Nukutawhiti. So hence why Ngā Toki Matawhaurua. And then my ancestral waka, which is Māori, sailed together on their way back on the second journey. Because then the story goes that Ngā Toki Matawhaurua was tapu, so it was no food, only water. So Māori sailed alongside and fed the crew of Ngā Toki Matawhaurua, hence why these two wakas landed in Hokianga. And this is where I whakapapa off Māori and also Ngā Toki Matawhaurua. So, So getting back to this about our tupunas, our ancestors, I needed to know a lot more. So I ended with I sailed this amazing person. His name was Ben Finney. If some of you heard his name was Ben Finney. There was a guy named Ben Finney and a guy by the name of Herb Carney, and a guy by the name of Tommy Holmes in Hawaii. And I got to sail with Ben Finney in 1985, and I got to listen to him because we shared this, we hot bunked, he was on watch on Hokulea and I was on watch, and we shared, and I got talking to him. At the time, I wasn't sort of, just not, I was curious, but not sort of getting too much in depth about our history and about our ancestors. But when he started talking about Polynesia and about Micronesia and about Melanesia, about Southeast Asia, and I was going, where the hell are you going to? And then over time got to learn a little bit more about how we came to be and how we came to be in Polynesia, how it all happened. And over the years I ended up spending time with Dr. Ben Finney, and I wasn't educated, I wasn't the most educated person, but I had a good set of ears after being slapped a few times from my mum. But I had a good set of ears and a good set of eyes, and I never talked back, just sat and listened. And we got to conversation, and he talked a lot about this movement of Polynesia. And I just said, well, how did you know this stuff? How did you realize you can come down to this? He says, well, he talked about DNA, he talked about this, but he says he talked about the waka, the canoe. And I said, well, what about that? And he tapped onto the voyaging waka, or the waka. He said, and how we came into Polynesia and through these different areas and different regions to get to Polynesia, and it was the waka was the form of transport to get us to where we are today. And so, yeah, it came really sort of I got really more interested in this. And then, of course, we started talking about the Polynesian Triangle, Te Monanui Akiwa, and talking about how the islands were sailed to, and then, of course, the canoe, of course, and then we talked about the navigation, about these people, these ancestors about that could navigate these canoes pretty much, virtually to every single dot in the middle of the Pacific Triangle and make it there. So, and the more I got it, and to a point where he talked about then the branching out to the three most furthest points of Polynesia, Hawaii, Easter Island, and Rapa Nui. And then after that, by then, yeah, I was totally in the zone. I was totally in this sort of journey. I wanted to just find out and more, and just started craving for more. And then, and it was just knowing more about the waka, knowing more about the voyaging waka, and also the navigation of the canoe. Who navigated these canoes across these vast oceans? Where's the connection of us talking about Southeast Asia, and of course more corridor went around more, finding out more about it, and of course the likes of the Lapita Ware has that connection to Southeast Asia through all those areas. So that was another interesting journey I really wanted to know more about. So I sort of did a bit of research and found out a little bit more. Didn't dab into it too much because it gets to a point where it's sort of you lose track of really what you were focusing on wanting to do, was to actually voyage and actually sail voyaging canoes and actually know the navigation side. But this was an insight to how our connection and how our movements through. So this canoe, its name is Hokulea. The English name is called. It's named after a star called Arcturus, the Star of Gladness. It's a zenith star that crosses the Hawaiian Islands. So this canoe was launched in 1976. It came from a painting by a guy by the name of Kani, which I interested, a renowned Hawaiian artist. His vision at the time was he had a dream. He was talking about he had a dream, and he dreamt about the star. And it was Arcturus, the star that he looked up at the night sky, very bright, and he looked at the star and he found that the name was Hokulea. And anyway, he painted a lot of paintings of voyaging canoes, painted a lot of paintings of wakas. But in his time dreaming more about his ancestors and how he thinks, how did they get here? What drove them here? What was the means of getting here? And then of course through his paintings, he had this one vision of this one voyaging waka in his mind, and he painted it. And through that painting, this canoe was built. As close as possible to traditional, but using modern materials at the time. He could see at the time also the loss of their culture, the loss of their connection to where they came from. So in his mind, he needed to do this and also to build this canoe. And I don't know, he had no idea who was going to sail it, who was going to navigate it. He just wanted to build this canoe. And then, of course, he teamed up with Ben Finney, and then a local Hawaiian guy by the name of Tommy Holmes. And in 1976, they got a crew together. They had the canoe, they had the crew, but they never had a navigator because they had no idea about the navigation of navigating this canoe over 2,500 nautical miles down to Tahiti, where they wanted to go to. So, and here's where the story gets a bit interesting. They were looking for these navigators, and there was a word that they found this group of navigators on an island, a chain of islands up in Micronesia. And there was this one island called Satua. So if you think of the island of Chuck, Guam, Chuck, and there's a chain of islands that run out from Chuck, there may be 400, 500, 600 nautical miles. The end island is called Satua. And funny thing about it, this is where the New Zealand connection comes to. An old guy by the name of, what's his name? David Lewis. He was living on these islands, and the old bugger was a bit of a, because he's an anthropologist, of course, and he come across these these navigators on this island. And then through the connections and through that, he said, there's these guys that are still practicing, still using their navigation, their tradition on their island. So they went there and they found this person by the name of Mao Pialuk. Got him and talked to him about navigating this canoe to Tahiti. Now, for Mao, he had no idea about where the canoe, well, going to Tahiti, but, you know, he says, yeah, I'll come and navigate the canoe. And I'm only doing this story a little short because a lot of other things that indulged just getting Mao to navigate the canoe. But anyway, he ended up navigating the canoe to Tahiti in 1976 successfully, just using tradition. And David Lewis was on that voyage in 70, so he documented a lot of Mao's navigation and how he did it, you know, so that was pretty interesting. And over the years, David Lewis became more of a grandfather, uncle, whatever you call him, a crew member, over the time when we got to know him and got to meet him. So Hokulea was navigated and sailed successfully in 76, and then it went back, and then over the next few years, they decided to create the Voyaging Trust, Polynesian Voyaging Society, and then they started this amazing renaissance of sailing Hokulea with the navigators, and then in the training, Mao decided to train a young navigator, a young person by the name of Nainoa Thompson, to navigate this voyaging canoe, Hokulea, through this voyage of Voyager rediscovery between 85 and 86. And this is where I was selected as a crew member, and also Uncle Hector Busby. So Hector was selected as crew to sail this canoe through this voyage of Voyager rediscovery. And the canoe was being sailed from Hawaii down to Tahiti through to Rarotonga, but it wasn't going to come to Aotearoa because they weren't too sure whether it was going to be able to make that journey to Aotearoa. But through Mao talking to Nainoa at the time when Nainoa was in training with Mao, Mao said, if you want to become navigator, this is the leg you're going to have to sail. You're going to have to take this canoe down to Aotearoa. And hence why I got to meet Nainoa in 1984 and 83 and got selected as a crew member to sail from Rarotonga to Aotearoa in 85. And of course for Nainoa, it was like the most testing part of his voyaging, knowing that his master wasn't on board and he had to sail this canoe on his own. And he did it great. We did it in 16 days from Rarotonga to Waitangi in 85. And of course that was Hokulea's first Hawaiian canoe, or first voyaging canoe to ever reach here in Aotearoa. And from that voyage right back up to 1987, it started this whole renaissance of voyaging, building voyaging canoes and navigating canoes. And it was through this voyage of rediscovery things just started to move on, and the islands that the canoe sailed to started igniting a lot of the islands to start looking at their ancestors and start looking at how they voyaged and how they navigated the ocean. So with Hokulea's arrival and Hokulea's movements through the Pacific and up in Hawaii, when it arrived here in Aotearoa in 1985, an elder of ours, Sir James Henare, was so humbled and so amazed that the canoe had come. He actually named a Hawaiian whānau as Ngāti Rua Wahia, the sixth tribe of Taitokerau, which was an honour that the Hawaiians were able to be named as that tribe. And through that, Sir James Henare put a challenge out to this elder of mine, this uncle of mine, Sir Hector Busby, or Hector, to repay the Hawaiians by building our own voyaging canoe. And so in 1992, 91-92, we built Te Aurere out of 2 Kodi trees up in the Herekino forest, and we built it, and we sailed it in 92 to Rarotonga. And at the time, I was still with Hokulea, but then I was given the opportunity given the place to captain the canoe. And then to navigate the canoe, we asked Mao to come back down and sail and navigate Te Aurere to Rarotonga in 92. And Mao came down with 4 other guys from Hawaii, and we sailed this canoe to Rarotonga in 92. We didn't do it in 16 days, but we did it in 24, so that was good enough. Went through a hell of a lot of storms to get there, but got a good hiding out on the ocean. But we made it. But it showed there is, that sort of opened that path of returning. Our tupunas returning back from Aotearoa. So that was another part. So every time we sort of think about what Hukule did and what Te Aurere was starting to retrace or revisit those routes where these ancestors of us sailed. So it was pretty amazing that we sailed in '92. Yeah, we had a crew of young greenhorns, and it was a very big learning curve. But we did it. I mean, some people called us idiots, and some people called it we're just risking everyone's life and da. So we had all a sort of negative side to it, but then we thought to ourselves, we were just a bunch of young fellows. We had enough knowledge to do it, but the ocean trained us really well. I could tell you that, it really made you who you were. You look at yourself a lot and realize, oh boy, the ocean knows how to sort that one out. So it was that time, it was early stages when we voyaged Te Aurere back then, and it started that. Again, a lot of us decided, and a lot of our guys and women decided to get involved in this voyaging and stuff like that, so it was pretty cool. The story goes, Sir James said to Hector, build a voyaging canoe, and one day return back to Hawaii. And at that time, it was only just a saying that Sir James said, but in 1995, we sailed Te Aurere back to Hawaii. I was the full-on skipper for then. And then we were also training 2 navigators at the time through Nainoa and Mao, a guy by the name of Jack Thatcher and another guy by the name, sadly he's passed away, Piripi Evans. They navigated Te Aurere from Tahiti through to the Marquesas, and from Marquesas up to Hawaii and then back. So Te Aurere did that voyage in 1995. And again, it was just, at the time, there was only 2 voyaging canoes, Hokule and Te Aurere. And in 1995, we added more voyaging canoes. There was a canoe from Cook Islands called Te Aotearoa, and another canoe called Takitimu. And then there was a canoe from the Hawaii called Makali, and also another Hawaiian canoe called Hawaii Iloa. And then the Tahitians also built a canoe called Tahiti Dui and A'a, which they didn't do the voyage, but the other canoes came to Hawaii, training navigators also to navigate this voyage. So through that 95, we started training navigators traditional navigators to voyage the ocean and stuff like that. So Jack Thatcher and Piripi were our first 2 traditional navigators. They passed that was their actual test, was to navigate this canoe, Te Aurere, to Hawaii. So through the teachings of Nainoa and Maopialuk. Yeah, and then along came 2000, because that was the connection. In Hector's dream was to sail the canoe up to Hawaii, and the other part of his journey was to actually reach Rapa Nui. Talked about it. 17 years later, after that 95 voyage, we sailed 2 voyaging canoes which Hector built, which is Ngāhi Raka Mai Tawhiti. In 2012, we sailed these 2 canoes to Easter Island, leaving here in Auckland here. So again, training young navigators. The young guy that we trained here was a guy by the name of Piripi Smith. He actually successfully navigated Te Aurere and Ngāhi Raka trailing behind to Easter Island. Round trip took us 10 and a half months round trip. The longest leg from here to Auckland to a place called the Astrals, or an island called Tupuai, was 43 days. Then we went to Mangareva, which was 25, and then 26 to Easter Island. Navigated all the way, which is really cool, and then backtracked through. And we trained our new navigators, also a couple of more guys to train and 1 girl to train as a navigator to bring the canoes back home. So 10 and a half months round trip to Easter Island and back. And that was one of the dreams of Hector, was to finish that part, and we did that for him. And now we have some amazing young leaders and young navigators that now can now navigate canoes across the ocean. These are some of the shots that we did and some of the things that we saw out on the ocean. of course, Rapa Nui, Easter Island. Read about the place, knew everything about it, but never dreamt about wanting to get there, and actually got there, but yeah, not by flying, actually sailing there, which was cool. An amazing island, you know, it's like, the navigation itself was pretty amazing. When we left the island of Mangareva, we left on the sunset, and we pretty much tracked in the same track as the sun rising and the sun setting. And that's the sun rising, that's Rapa Nui in the distance here. It's just like things just fell in place. Things were just amazing. Our navigator, young navigator Piripi, he just like hit it pretty hard, pretty well. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. Myself and Jack were on. We had already sighted the island, and we were wondering why our young guy had told us to stop the canoes. He wanted to measure some stars and measure some certain angles he wanted to do. And for us, me, myself, and Jack, we were excited. We knew we were there, but we didn't want to let it out. You know, we wanted the young crew and this young navigator to find the island. And we sat there patiently, and I was on the radio back to Jack, and I'm going, oh God, how long am I going to sit here? Jack goes, I know, just let it happen. Yeah, we'll just wait. Anyway, about 1 o'clock in the morning, we waited for the moon to rise. And we knew the moon, and then we knew the sun, and so our young navigator was going. And I said, because I questioned Jack, ask him the question, because Jack was on the other canoe. And you're saying, ask him, what can he see on the ocean? What can he see? Does he think he's there? What features of the island can he see? And so I asked him, can he see anything? And Piripi goes, oh, not at the moment. You know, I could see it, Jack could see it. And then the new crew are like all eyeballing and says, oh, what were you looking at? And I said, oh, keep looking. You know, keep looking. It's there. And then I said to the navigator, what do you see again? He goes, oh, I don't know. I see this shape. See this dark shape, but I'm not too sure. I think it's a cloud. I said, okay, just wait till the moon rises and see what happens. And then he goes, oh. And he saw how the moon rose, and he saw, oh, yeah. And he sort of defined it. I says, cool. Are you sure it's just Easter Island, it's just Rapa Nui? And he goes, and I was going, please, because I looked at, and there's a beacon light. And I was going, oh, hurry up, man, make up your decision quick, because if that light goes off, that's it, your navigation's stuffed. You'll know where the island is. And he just like, the split second, he says, confirm, island. Where? What's the shape you see? I see this shape, I see that shape, I see the cut. Good. Is it Rapa Nui? Yes. Bang, the light went off. And I was going, boy, oh boy, you know, you were about ready. Jack was like screaming his head off on the other. I could hear him screaming from the other canoe. Bloody hell, you should have bloody well, bloody. You know, so, yeah, that was the funny moment where, yeah, it was the light right in the harbour, right there. It went off like blink. And right when he said, that's the island. So, yeah, he'd done his job. He successfully navigated the canoes there. So that was amazing journey, amazing trip to Rapa Nui. Amazing island. Yeah, there's no place to shelter on that island. It's so remote. It's so isolated. It's like a needle in a haystack. If you hit it, you hit it. If you miss it, you're going to miss it. You might as well carry on to South America. That's how amazing this island is. But it was a great trip that our young fellow did, and I was really proud of him. Over the years, over from that Rapa Nui trip, before then, there was this renaissance of building voyaging wakas. So we had this guy by the name of Dieter, who built these 7 big voyaging wakas, Cook Island design, at the little place called the Salt House. And they started this voyage just before 2010, 2011, called Te Manoa Te Moana. And they sail these canoes through. These are the more Ferrari-type canoes, we call them. You get nice dry bunks. You get good kitchen facilities. You don't get wet as much, but not like our old canoes. We call them wet canoes, so they're always soaking wet, but it's all good. But these are like the sort of Ferrari type. But they did this amazing voyage through the Pacific, right through to America, and it was great. It was just to highlight this is the starting of our oceans. Was starting to, especially the Te Moana Nui Akiwa, was starting to, things were changing in the ocean. So they did this voyage called Manoa Te Moana. had all the crews from different islands on these canoes, from Tonga through to Samoa, Cook Islands, Tahiti, from here Aotearoa, and Tonga. So they had all these different crews on these canoes, and they did this amazing voyage. Took 2 years. And the day they arrived back from Manoa, we set sail to Rapa Nui in 2012. So these guys did a great job. Just being aware they had mixed crews, wahine and tani on these crews, and that was the start of our, pretty much, and also with Aurere and Ngāhiraka, the start of our wahine being involved in voyaging on wakas. So it was a great thing to happen. It was a great thing to do, to have that happen. Now, getting back to Taputapua, this place here is very special to us, especially here. And if some of you have been or some of you haven't been to, it's in Tahiti, Raiatea, the Maoris, where we, as our ancestors, left from. Beautiful place. It's an amazing place. It's got a spirit of its own. It's where the great navigators, the great captains, and our ancestral canoes left from, especially here. So in 1995, Te Aurere went back to this place to pay respects to this place, and also to lift a bit of a tapu or a bit of a curse that was on this place, that was left 500, 600 years ago. So having Te Aurere go back there and lifting this sort of curse, or this bit of a curse on this site, was a special time in 1995. One of our great elders, Te Aopihi, the Queen's aide, he came and helped with the lifting of this curse, or this that was left on this site, which was pretty special to our Tahitian, our whānau from up there. The chief himself, call him anything you like, and of course these three people are the guys who revived this art of waka building, voyaging, and navigation. Great people, and they're the ones that have, especially for my uncle there, Uncle Hector, being a canoe builder, building canoes. He's built nearly 30 to 40 canoes in his lifetime, building 2 voyaging canoes at the same time, building numerous waka tauas and waka titis up and around Aotearoa, up home especially, and in Hawaii, one in Leiden, one in America. So he's a renowned tohunga in his building canoes. Mao is he's the guy he's the person that brought that navigation here in to us in Aotearoa and throughout the Pacific. With his elders on his island didn't want him to just hand the knowledge down, but Mao could see that the knowledge wasn't going to be hanging around long if he doesn't pass it down. So Naino became his student back in those early years, teaching him everything about navigation. But these three people are the chiefs, or are the people that laid down the voyaging and navigation of waka through the Pacific. Mao, at his younger days, this is the teaching the young about the navigation. One of the things we all get taught is about the navigation is learning the star compass, learning the names of the star compass. And then through that, once you become, you do your training as a navigator, you sail the ocean, you navigate canoes. The last part of a master navigator, and this is in his ailing times, is to hand po, we call it po, the position as master navigator. So he's doing that to his son Cesario, giving him master navigator. And then from that, that's pretty much his last deed as a grand master, to give that. And of course he handed it to Hector and all of us the position as po navigator. And it's a pretty humbling ceremony. There's nothing big pompous about it. You just arrive, you have a chance, and then you just get a little tap, bit of paint, a bit of paint or stuff they put on you, a little bracelet, and he just blesses you as nothing so big. It's a very humbling ceremony, and the whole village, the whole island is involved in that. and then, yeah, it's pretty much done. But in the other hand, it's an important, giving that position as a Pou navigator to Mao, his whole thing of getting this Grand Master Navigator is that being Pou is like, you're just the light of your family. You're the light. That's all he says, you are the light. And within that light, there's lots that happen when you become the light of your people. People come, it's not as if people come and get you advice. You're just the person that people come to you just to say, they're there for support, help. But he sees it as the light of your people. So given that Pou is very, very humbling and very special in that sense. And we don't talk about it. I mean, be honest, we don't go around yelling out to with us navigators. We're sort of, wouldn't say a close society or close bunch of guys. We just know that we're given this honor by this guy, and given that you guys are it. You guys are the light of your people, your generation, or whatever. So that was pretty special. Yeah, pretty special to get that. And over those years, learning the navigation, learning everything from Mao and Nainoa could see that he needed to make the navigation, handing it down to the rest of the Pacific. So for us here in Aotearoa, we just use the different types of tuhus in the night and that are laid out there. We give them the Māori names, Jack and myself and Piripi, and we translate a lot the teachings that Mao is given to Nainoa, and we translate it to us so we can use it here. All the same throughout the Pacific, all the same. These are the tuhus, the main tuhus that we use on the ocean. People always ask, you got to memorize. You do a bit of memorizing, but a lot of it is more like, you can learn a lot about it on book and paper and stuff. You can sort of translate or put that in here, but it's better when you're out on the ocean and you're actually putting it into practice. And sometimes what you learn doesn't actually happen out there on the ocean, because the ocean and the weather changes all that. So, it's pretty good. And it's a great challenge when you know that you're going out and think, oh, yeah, I've got this, I've got that. And you get out there and goes, oh, no, it's not there. It said it was supposed to, I studied for it to be there, but then you got to think about it. Oh, no, damn it, I left at the wrong month. Or I left I left too early, I left too late, and all those sort of things. But pretty much these tuhus are pretty much the main ones. The hardest tuhu that we got to learn, and we're still learning, is the wave patterns. Mao. Man, I've been sailing a few voyages with Mao, and we all sat with Mao and go, Mao, we only know two waves, a big wave, a little wave, face and that. And Mao could just out of just the eye, he goes, oh, look, you see the little wave, And I said, there's a lot of little waves, but I don't know which one it is. That one, you see? And he could predict the movement of a current and all those sort of things, and he could sort of know the wind, it's like the guys who race these yachts. They read the little smidgens of wind on the ocean and stuff like that. But Mao, he just got this amazing ability to just call a wave out and he says, this is the big wave. His English is not that good. He just says, look at the big wave. And I said, how do you know the big wave? The big wave bigger than the little wave. So, so you got to sit there. But he's saying that there's always a dominant wave, the dominant swell. And he goes things like, I said, Mao, how does the wave, and back then we were learning about what makes the wave. He goes, the wind make the wave. And I go, okay, what makes the swell? The storm. And I go, oh. You're sitting there going, storm. And then he realized, when you actually experience it, then you really click. He goes, oh yeah, now I know what he's talking about. It is, it is. That's the saying. The wind make the wave, and the storm make the swell. And the swell, he says, is the big wave. And he said, good navigate wave, big wave. Using that wave, using those swells, you get to learn. The other thing is feel of the canoe on the ocean. These tohus here, these are placed in the order that we use them. Everyone thinks that we use the stars a lot. Yes, we do. But pretty much that sunrise and that sunset is important to us. And Mao said this is the number one tohu you use. You watch the sun in the morning, in the middle of the day and in the evening. And I said, why? Plenty colours. The colours, the sun shines on the clouds and stuff. You can predict your weather or your wind or your angle or the way the wind's coming from. I said, wow. And he said, you see the ocean too. So all that sort of stuff. So yeah. And yeah, it was just over the years we just put these teachings into practice, and they pretty much are amazing how it works. Even today, and all of us always, our guys that have voyaged, we still amazed how it works. We honestly, even though we've done this for so long, we just sit back and just realize how amazing how it works. It's just amazing, and how sort of humbling it feels like when you're out there, and you realize, wow, our ancestors saw the same things, the same night sky, the same sunrise, the same sunset, the moon, everything, and it's pretty hard to sort of explain when you're but when you're out there, you really click into it pretty much, yeah. Star compass is our main tohu, or our main that we use a lot. We study it, we study the movements. I can go on a lot about the star compass, but the simplest thing is, you got your 4 compass roses, north, east, west, and south. It's round. It's round. But we break it up into what we call 32 points. Each point is 11.25 degrees. If you multiply that by 32, you get 360. That's the mathematical bit about it. But the thing about the star compass is has these, everything mirrors each other. From the east to the west, you name the houses as names of Ra and Kainga. So Kainga and Kainga on either end of the star compass is where Tamanui Te Ra lives. This is where Tamanui Te Ra resides in. And of course, Noi is where Matariki does its movements. And so constellations that we use, we place them in these houses. And we use those houses to make sure that these stars or these constellations or whatever tools you use will be traveling in those houses. But at the same time, you've got to always adjust because you're moving through the ocean. So if things are happening, you've got to always make sure that each time you're moving forward or back or to the side, you've got to always make sure that those houses are still, that you still know where your tohus are rising and where they're setting. And over those times, you start adjusting. It looks complex, but it's actually pretty easy to use if you're out on the ocean. When you're out on it, you realize how it works. For Miles' thing is he sees it as, this is how he sees his star compass. He is the center of his star compass. He stands on the canoe, he's the center. The canoe on the ocean is the center of the star compass. The horizon line is the rim of the star compass. The dome is your star compass. Miles' whole ethos of how he sees it is he doesn't sail to the islands come to him. He is the center of his compass. Everything comes to him. That's how he sees it in his mind. And then when you think about it, you think, yeah, actually it is, you're sitting in a spot and the islands are coming over the horizon line to you. And that's how he sees it. That's how he sees it in his mind. And all the signs and all the tohus that you use in the star compass all come to him, and they travel through him or over him and rest on the other side of him. So that's how he sees it. So it's a pretty sort of thing how he sort of broke it down to us about learning the star compass and stuff. But knowing the names is important. All this is you got to memorize. And all your stars you're going to be using, your constellations. Some of us, we don't actually name the stars, but we know where they rise from and we know where they set. That's the key thing about navigating. So there's 3 things about knowing about navigation. 1, know the speed you're traveling on the ocean, know the distance from A to B, and knowing how long you're going to be on the ocean. Within that, those are the 3 things we get to learn to focus on. And with that, you add the weather, you add the time of the month or time of the year, what systems are coming, all those sort of things come into play with navigation and stuff like that. I'll just give you fellas a few little concepts. This is our tuhu, pretty much our major tuhu that we use here in Aotearoa. Mahutonga is one of the main constellations, either leaving or coming back. You see it in different positions in the night sky when you travel further north, across the equator. If some of you are a lot of sailors that have been sailing across the equator, you'll see these tohus, this tohu in different angles or different heights in the night sky. Of course, we learn about matariki. Of course, we have got a holiday at a matariki. Spreading, well, not a holiday, but a celebration of matariki. Learning these are the tohus that we see here in Aotearoa. Interesting enough, my mate Cesario came in a week ago, and his first time here in Aotearoa, I said to him, this is Miles' son. I said to him, hey, your dad's been here more than you have. And he goes, oh, this is my first time. So I took him out and showed him the night sky, and he was like, oh, wow, this is different. I don't know where we are. And I said, here in Aotearoa, man. And he sees all this different. You know, he doesn't see these. So he's pretty amazed when he says, I said, this is the stuff your dad sees every night when he was down here. And so he was pretty humble and pretty, what his dad would see down there. And I said, your dad will spend nights looking at the night sky. He was always just say, wow. Yeah, he sees matariki. And I said, yeah. I said, your dad taught me the name of matariki. It's called marigate. And he goes, yeah, you know the name. You know the names? I said, yeah. So I told him a few names. But this is pretty cool, yeah, to show him this. Of course, matariki, yeah, you fellas should all know about matariki. I thought I'd chuck that up there. Okay, so Hector Busby, yeah, getting back to my uncle. Yeah, we spent a lot of pretty much me and Hector, yeah. When my dad passed, Hector became my dad, and we just been doing waka all our lives, and spent all our time with him, and I learned so much from him, and carried on, and I still carry on what he does, you know. One of the things that he's done, he's in his life when he was sort of not in a good state, his vision was to build a teaching centre on his property up north, a little place called Aotearoa, and then fulfilled that dream of his. We built a centre called Te Kupe, Sir Hector Busby Te Kupe Waka Centre, and we opened it up, and now we're just like booked out. Especially with kids. The whole thing was all about educating the kids, teaching the kids, handing the knowledge down for our kids. That's his whole vision, was to learn that. And so, yeah, we fulfilled that, and I promised we'll do that, and we've done it. And that was so cool that we now, have our own place there where we can take our kids and to see where where all his wakas were built. He built everything on the site up in Aotearoa. Yeah, so these are the two voyaging wakas that are up in his little place up in the estuary called Aotearoa. So this is where the Te Kupe Waka Centre is, and this is where he's, this is where the two wakas, this is where they are, but they're sort of, one's down in Tauranga and one's still up north. And this is very, I remember this when 1985, when Sir James with Uncle Himi did this kōrero. It was pretty moving. It inspired a guy by the name of Byron Thompson, which was Nainoa Thompson's dad. When he heard this, he was just amazed. He was like so honoured to meet Sir James, Uncle Himi, that it also started him on that journey with the Hawaiian people in Hawaii, how they lost their culture, their language, to a point where the first time he got to see kohanga reos here in Aotearoa at that time. And he said to Sir James and Hank, what are these things called? They're called language release. That was created for our young people, our young babies to learn the reo. And he said, can we do this in Hawaii? So, yeah, so kohanga reo is in Hawaii, true to this meeting in 1985, because kohanga reo started in 1984. So, yeah, it was like, it took off. It's rampant in Hawaii. And a lot of our language necessary, and a lot of the reo up in Hawaii. But through Uncle Hemi, it has been pretty amazing, that journey. For us as voyagers, now these days, we're on a different type of voyage. Yeah, we've sailed, like myself and us, we've sailed a lot of ocean. Now, the amount of oceans, especially in the Pacific, we've sailed those routes a few times, and over the times we've sailed, we notice things are happening, and not in a good way. Climate change, the pollution. And the thing about these voyaging canoes we sail so slow. We're not like racing boats. We see things better and see things happening out there. And it's hard. It's hard to see what's happening, you know, especially here, especially out there. Yeah, we come across some not so good things we see out there, the amount of rubbish. And this part here is interesting. For us as navigators, we, back in the days, 30, 40 years ago, we could predict weather naturally, you know, just by using natural science. It's harder. It's harder for us to predict a storm because things are changing so quick. So pretty much we're looking at satellite imaging now. We're in a stage where how do we merge the satellite imaging and tradition together? It all come together, but yeah, it's just getting, yeah, it's pretty hard to predict the weather systems, the way weather shifts across the ocean. Ship traffic is just like, yeah, it's crazy out there. That's back in the days when we used to sail, we would only see one ship way on the horizon. Now we see ships day in and day, pretty much nighttime. And that's the scary time because for us on our canoes, we're all wooden, so we don't light up like a lumen light bulb on a radar. But these things are just cruising like flat tack. Of course, the rubbish. The fishing is crazy out there at the moment. It's just like, yeah, it's because part of the oceans we sail in are all international oceans. So this is where all these fishing vessels sit. And sometimes we'll come across a vessel we think it's an island, but actually it's all the lights of fishing vessels. It just lights up the night sky, and these things are just working 24 hours a day. So we come across things that over the years that we've voyaged that are not good, and this is the sort of thing we teach our young people about look after the ocean, look after, especially here in the Pacific, Te Moana Nui a Kiwa, and we talk about how the ocean is, it predicts all our weather, it's the one that controls our weather and stuff like that. So this is sort of what's happening now in reality, and the voyages we do now are more like awareness voyages, you know, teaching the knowledge, teaching about waka, but teaching about how to look after the ocean, especially these parts of the ocean. It's like, yeah, but it's just that sort of thing, and this is sort of what we want to work around with our generation, with our kids, for the next is teaching, having navigators, having traditional navigators, having traditional canoe builders, having teachers, but at the same time making them become people that a generation that will look after and care for our ocean, because yeah, it's a beautiful place. I tell you, I've been, you know, it's a beautiful place, but it's a horrible place when it's rough and stormy, but it's an amazing place. I mean, you see things out there natural things out there that you don't see anywhere else, and yeah, it's an amazing place to be, and it's thanks to those three people, Hector and Mao and Nainoa, and our kaumātua and our old people and our ancestors, because what we do now, we do that to honour the old people, honour our ancestors, honour our tupunas that came here first, and yeah, and we just want to carry this on, that we're not going to go back and learn the knowledge of voyaging and waka building. It's here, and we just got to hand it down. It's good that a place like this is good for it, to touch that knowledge. So yeah, so thank you. Kia ora. Did I do okay? Did 2 minutes over.
Thank you. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions? I have one.
Okay.
Is it true that the Hokulea may be here next year?
Yeah.
At the end of this year?
Yeah, Hokulea is here in November. We're starting off a voyage called Te Moana Nui a Kia voyage, which is sailing the Pacific Rim. Again, on a journey of highlighting the ocean. We started in Alaska last year, then we had the big Lahaina fires, or 2 years ago, Lahaina fires, so the canoe came in, but we're restarting that voyage again. And we're coming around with like educational, everything. Everything's coming down with it. So it'll be here in November, and now we have that here. I'm heading to Hawaii on Tuesday, flying out. Sorry, some of us have got to do it. Yeah, it's a horrible thing. We're going to celebrate Hokulea's 50th anniversary. So it's a great thing. It's sort of a great thing because we get to meet some of the original crew, all the OGs. We're just going to talk stories and celebrate this canoe, this grand lady, because we call her the mother. mother. And it gets back to one thing that Ma would always say to us. He says, remember, the canoe is your mother, the navigator is your father, and you're the child. So that's how Ma used to tell us. So we're going to celebrate her 50th. So yeah, so it'll be pretty cool.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
There's a question over here.
Thanks, Stan. It was really interesting. You started with that painting that is somebody's narrative, somebody's interpretation, which has obviously been proven to be quite far-fetched. Do you think in terms of people's understanding of voyaging and its place now, that is well in the past?
Yes.
And we've all moved on.
Yeah. No, that's right. We've all moved on. And I think we moved on in a good way. Because the thing is, when we started back in those days, people, it's not as if they weren't ignorant to what we were doing, they just had no idea. And over that time, and it was a privilege that because I had my elders around that got the opportunity to go out and talk about this and show them what we had done. So it was quite amazing, quite impressive, and then like that, we moved on. This is what it is. I mean, and it's just been amazing that they've we've gotten to this stage where now it's like, wow. And it's just the coolest thing if we can ever get it into teaching it in education. It'll be so cool, which we are in little snippets. But yeah, no, we're really amazed and just it's cool. We moved on. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I understand that was really fascinating. A quick question: what's fascinating as well is the reconnection within Polynesia, between Hawaii and Polynesia and Aotearoa. That's very powerful message and very inspiring. I think you didn't show the photo, but we've seen also footage where when you arrive in those islands, like in Rapa Nui, there was like a massive traditional ceremony here. So that's beautiful and heartwarming. Do you also have connections with like Melanesia in Fiji or Solomon Island, who also have traditions, but they are not part of this sort of colonial divide?
Yeah, we do. I mean, when you think about, especially up in Taiwan, this is amazing. We've actually started connecting back through Polynesia, Melanesia, Micronesia, right back to East Southeast Asia, especially Taiwan. We just started collecting these stories. We collected all these tikanga, these things these people do, and they had the similarities to what we do here in Aotearoa. That's what the craziest thing about it is, that they're practicing. They got similar names, especially in Taiwan, and are very close to the Taiwanese people, and are very close to a lot of them, and they really are amazed that they've found us. They've come back, pretty much. So physically, we haven't gone by voyaging waka, but through the stories, the teachings, and visiting and meeting them, it's just started reconnecting us back. So, but it comes back to this: the waka is the one. You know, I'm strongly to that. The waka and the reo, the language, and even though it changes in different islands, but it still has the same tikanga that falls through it. You know, they got the same thing. So yeah, it's been that thing in which we never ever thought that it'll happen. It's just now, it's just great, and it's igniting a lot of the islands, especially the islands that haven't lost the tradition. They just never used it anymore. Like all those outer islands, like some of those islands are learning a lot about their canoes, their special canoes, because every canoe has its own special technique or the specialness about them. And that's what's happening now. It's just that big renaissance of those islands throughout Polynesia that are learning this stuff, which is really cool. Yeah.
Tēnā koe, mātua Stan. Thank you for the talk. It's very, very, very inspirational. I'm going to be greedy. I have 3 questions. Do you find that navigators, maybe amongst the Māori navigators and maybe amongst the different cultures, they have different styles of navigating? Maybe lean on certain tohu a bit more than others? Is that the case?
So when we all taught the navigation stuff from Mao and Nainoa, we taught from Mao's teachings, Mao's teaching. But over the time, a lot of them are starting to capture the ones that they not like I said they did, but the ones that the tupunas would have used. And pretty much every sort of method of navigation has a similarity to it. But over time, you think about the names that are sort of different, but the practices are still the same. And there's still things that they're pulling through from those island areas that they have lost, but they've found. And it's still the same practice, but it's right, they do it in their own way, and that's a cool thing. I like it when they do it their own way, because if they're doing it their own way, to me, that's retaining that knowledge, that's retaining. Don't try and, it's good to use the knowledge, but find that other way to, because sometimes for us teaching the knowledge the way Māori, it doesn't work. It's teaching how you think you should teach the knowledge. So, yeah. And also for change too, which is cool in that sense,
Second question. Just in regards to the journey of the revitalization of their mātauranga, I suppose with my kaupapa, which is mainly with Waimaori freshwater, a lot of my whānau maybe don't have that mātauranga anymore, and it's just that knowledge doesn't exist there. Do you have any, ways of maybe like how you go about revitalizing, or where you can look for that knowledge, if that makes sense?
Well, there's lots. There's some. I'm using the maramataka stuff, using the Māori calendars and stuff like that. And that's a lot. A lot of them are going back to using the Māori calendar, using those things to help. Start looking for the old kōrero. They're there. You just gotta tap into the right people. With Waima, with the Wai, it's right. Some of our old people would use. They had the ways of using that way for that. Especially for things of the freshwater stuff that you use, like knowing the migration of the tuna, knowing the migration of the koda, the freshwater crayfish, knowing the time to plant. Especially with some of the things that are in it, like the freshwater shellfish, knowing when to harvest and not to harvest, those sort of things, and how to keep the water pure. And those practices were there. They were there. You just got to work around. But using the maramataka cycle of the maramataka is important. I'll be honest, I stick by it. Yeah, I plant my kind of, And the funny thing about it, my mum did it, but I just ignored it. Yeah. Our old people did it. You sit there and they're repeating it to you over and over and over again. You go, oh, yeah, hoa. You get sick of it. And then you realize you're driving and goes, oh, yeah, no, that. Oh, and then my wife goes, how do you know that? I said, oh, sure. Then I click. So all of it comes down to repetition. You got to keep repeating it all the time, because that's, I think, our tamariki, our generation are short spanned. But my thing is, that's okay. Just make it fun. Make it enjoyable and let them own it. That's the coolest thing. That's across all our tamariki. Just let them, and that's it. You got to. Back in our days, we had 3 things we would run through a program, but now you got to have snippets because of the attention span. But in those snippets, you got to make sure that one, it has got to have the meaning. You got to make sure it sticks. Don't just run a little snippet and say, "Oh, I think they got that," but no, they don't. It takes another little bit of a repetition to get it going. But stick to those sort of things. Look for those sort of mātauranga that's around there. That's there. It's coming. Yeah, it wasn't there when my time was. I guarantee you that. It was there. I only read it in Rangatai 2 and Rangatai 1. But when I was learning that. But other than that, it's there all the time.
And finally, have you seen the kuaka fly overhead before?
Yes. Yeah. Migrating kuaka, and we talk about how our tupunas arrive. The kuaka is one of them. Yeah, the kuaka is one of them. The shiny cuckoo is the other one. Yeah. And that's the thing I've seen where the kuaka are flying, coming to Aotearoa, and we come back in certain times of month. When you're in the right direction. Yeah. Kia ora.
Cool. Okay. Stan, thank you. I'm just going to... Oh, no, sorry, one more question here.
Tēnā koe te rangatira, me mihi ka tika kia koe I tō mahi wānanga I te rangi nei. He pātai tāku, I was just wondering, since you brought up the maramataka, is the Tangaroa moon phases, was that favoured by our navigators, whakatere? Because I know one of the kōrero from Tainui waka, where we whakapapa back to, was the uenuku. So they got the big carving as well of the uen. So apparently they set out on the uenuku moon phase, but I thought maybe, it's all in the name, Tangaroa moon phases would be favoured moon phases to sail on.
Yeah, that's pono. That's those phases, that Tangaroa phase is important. The person that really works hard around that is my other Pou navigator, Jack Thatcher, and Hoturoa. All 3 of us work around those phases. when leaving and arriving. So they're very, those are important phases. Yeah, very important. Yeah.
Fantastic. I just wanted to highlight this book here, Reawakened, is in the shop as well. Inside, I'm not giving you this one. I assume you've already got this one.
I think so. Yeah.
Have you?
Someone would have whipped it out of my hands. I don't know, but that's all right. It's okay.
I can give you another copy.
Oh no, that's good.
But what I have got for you, I kind of feel like I want to give this copy to you now, just in case. This is a waterproof bag.
Oh wow.
Inside is a book. I'm not going to pull it out. I don't think you'll have this one, the one inside, on your bookshelf. I will be interested next time we speak of your thoughts on it. And I am actually going to give you that one as well, because you didn't quickly say, yes, I've got it. So give it away to someone else if you do have it. And also, so thank you. We've got your name on it as well.
Oh, wonderful.
Just so you know it's yours.
Thank you.
Is to also invite you out on one of the New Zealand Sailing Trust boats, which is Steinlager Tour Line New Zealand. So I know it's a conversation we've had before and with Sunny and others, and it is something I do want to make happen now.
Wonderful,
and
thank
we'll
you.
Get some of your students out as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you given how busy you are.
Thank you, everyone.